Let's go.
Welcome back, everybody. It is time to hop into the winner's match here. ByuN versus herO is coming up next.
Yeah, kind of an unexpected result for me so far. I mean, herO, I always thought was 50-50, but Ro looked so good last week in his group that, you know, ByuN with that surprising 2-0 right out of the gate with 2 different builds. And now we have two of the most aggressive and explosive players of their respective races going head-to-head for really a spot in the round of 4. Winner of this one's moving on to the semifinals on Friday. And I gotta say, man, ByuN has been looking really good. With that 2-0 victory versus Rogue, I mean, his TV, he looks on fire. It looks like he's got a really wide breadth of builds that he can go back into the well to. And you know, even in the qualifiers leading into this, 2-1 over Maru, 2-1 over Gumiho. I'm not exactly sure where his TVP is at, but ByuN seems to be absolutely on fire. As for herO, he mentioned in the interview earlier on, at the very start of the show, that a lot of players, while there was all of that waiting for the announcement of EWC and the circuit, no one really knew what kind of form StarCraft 2 was going to be taking in 2025. A lot of people kind of took a break, played some other games, spent time with their family, their friends, which is completely understandable. But herO was like, you know, the whole time, like, I just worked hard, I focused on myself, I kept practicing, and it looks like it's paying off because he was able to beat Kira 2-1 in some really interesting and unique games, and now here he is, 2 map wins away from the round of 4.
Yeah, I mean, he looks really strong. ByuN as well, though. This should be a good one. Tough one to say who exactly is going to advance, but we're going to find out in a second here. Game 1 is ready on ley lines. Let's do this. ByuN with a cape in that shot.
Oh, did he have it?
Yeah. So ByuN in the top right, herO in the bottom left.
Cape's a powerful thing.
It is.
Wouldn't be surprised if that's
I don't know
what
if the
sent him
capes
to-
are ever going to come back or not. You know, there was a whole time where
ByuN's trying, man.
Yeah. Now, ByuN is sending his first SCV out and around. He is
with a gas
taking
first.
gas. So is this going to be that Marat? Well, hold on. Is he going to make a barracks over here? And if so,
I think it's an engineering bay block.
Yeah,
with,
I think you're right.
With a fast factory. That's my official bet.
I thought for a second it was going to be that proxied Marauder build. So what does he want to do up here? Does he make a... Okay, no, he is going to get the eBay. You're right.
Oh, wait, herO, you saw that. Okay, I saw the probe like, wait, we didn't get the player vision. I'm pretty sure that's in range. This is my least favorite thing to play against, by the way.
Look at it. It's
also herO's least favorite thing. Look how many probes he brought down. He's like, you get out of here with this. I do not want to throw down my Nexus at my 3rd base against ByuN, of all people.
Is it ever worth it to, like, while he comes down, if he's focusing on that, to make, like, another object in the way?
I think you just can't do it. You can't do it because of the HP on the SCV's already done at like 5 or 10, right?
Yeah, because it doesn't matter. They just flick it down.
I like that. I'm going to steal that response. That is really good.
Yeah. You have to know exactly how many probes is the right. You have to have the Goldilocks around amount of probes there. Not too little, not too many. But yeah, he like shuts that down and immediately starts his Nexus. Back at home, it's a command center starting. This time it's tucked away inside the main. And it's going to be Reaper Tech coming out here. And you can see that the probe for herO is basically just checking around. Like, are there any proxies? Is anything weird happening over here?
Yeah, so part of this is, I mean, I might be going a little bit overthinking on this, but Mario versus, I think, Classic in the GSL qualifiers. If I'm not mistaken, in 3 games in a row, he did basically this opening, where he went gas first, or some variant of fast gas, with an engineering bay block, and it almost always culminated in a siege tank push. And in most of those games, if not all of those games, I think Classic took his Nexus at the 3rd base. So kind of the game plan there from the Terran side of things was to force the Protoss player to expand in this forward position and then hammer it with a timing push. Go for this killing blow very early on. Oftentimes it was on the back of something like a proxy starport to lift Hellions into the main base and cause more problems. And so herO just being really proactive with his scouting. I'm curious if this is something that maybe ByuN and Maru, because they're such close friends and they practice together, have been kind of cooking up together, and that's why herO had such a specific response. And by the way, really good micro by herO to intercept this Reaper. He barely doesn't get it. 2 HP. But that was, I mean, trying to corral a Reaper like this with an Adept and a Stalker in the middle of the map is like trying to herd some kind of sheep. I don't know, man. It's not easy to do. It is not easy to do.
Actually almost got that. The Reaper's almost regen to full health. I think he's going to come in here and just see the 2 Stalkers. Maybe try to jump in the main. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I'm impressed. These Reapers, they're sneaky. they are hard to snipe. But I love the effort there by herO.
And so,
oh, he got it.
Finally, some closure here.
Yeah.
So Blink's being upgraded. We've got the Robo coming down here with the 2 additional gateways. And
and a tech lab on that factory is to be going for a siege tank. So I do wonder if this is kind of the same, early game philosophy that Maru was using quite a bit in his qualifier matches. It's cool. It is really, I'm still trying to get my bearings since it's been so long since we've had Premier StarCraft 2 tournaments. And, we always talk about on the breaks and also on broadcast how we don't know exactly where everybody is at in terms of the styles that they're playing, in terms of their condition.
Right. So, I mean, the Medevac's going to come in here. He's going to try to get this drop off. The dreaded Widowmine drop. Is he going to be reacting in time? He almost turns away because he sees the Stalkers there. He actually only drops 1.
Oh, he's going to get a Stalker. Oh, no, there's Blink. It just finished. Wow.
Perfect Blink. Yo, herO looks so good.
Man.
That was perfect. ByuN with a miscalculation there as far as what he could get away with.
Yeah,
he's even setting everything back. There's supposed to be a push that hits with that, and he's like, oh, I don't have any kind of distraction for you right now.
herO just broke his ankles. That was sick.
Yeah,
I love that
really
move.
Good. Now, I think a push can come a little bit later here from ByuN, but it's undeniable that right now herO is very in control of this game. He should easily be able to get a 3rd base up. He's going to have an opportunity to be aggressive on the map. By the way, there's this kind of new style of walling that ByuN's doing where he kind of makes a wall on the outside of the edge of his map where Stalkers could blink up in. So all he has to do is have 1 tank in his main, and basically the Stalkers blink up. They can't reach the tank. They're going to eat at least 3 shots from the tank and then have to blink away.
Yeah, we saw Kier do the same thing in his match. It's a very smart adjustment, especially because when you go for a Widowmine drop like that one, that's a lot of factory time invested. Okay, wait, hold on. Adept's here in the main base. I think herO's just kind of throwing this in the main to distract ByuN as he pokes in front of the natural but decides not to go for it. He's warping in more Stalkers on the front line. I don't think that the pressure is going to be stopping anytime soon. There's a little bit of probe cut happening here for herO. Okay, he sees double siege tank. Are you crazy enough to blink on this, herO? No way.
No,
okay,
don't do it.
Oh, man.
When I saw the start of the blink animation, I'm like, no way, dude. So, that's funny. There's like a Raven just perched over that. We're getting close here. When the stim is done, I would imagine the Terran is going to try to move out. ByuN has quite a bit. He's looking a lot healthier than Kier was in the games that we saw earlier. A small Stalker drop. I don't know if this is going to get that much done.
It's forcing more units back into the main base, and herO might use this to try and find some damage to the natural, but I feel like too much time has passed. And this is, ByuN's done a very good job of weathering the storm, because typically in a situation like this one where you commit resources and time, build time on the factory and build time on the starport into getting a medevac and 2 Widowmines like that, and you get nothing done, and your opponent then comes cross-map with Blink Stalkers like this, it can be fatal. Oh, herO coming in the natural expansion again is able to snipe that tank despite it being so far back.
Yeah, that was entrenched deep in there, but he went in that with that blink. Did a decent amount of damage, but I think it's push time.
Yeah, when Stimpack is done, Terran's got a lot more maneuverability here on the map. The pendulum starts to swing back, and then Protoss is the one that needs to kind of play here on the back foot a little bit more defensively. Now, herO, his job is to basically try and kite and do as much damage as he can in this army. Ideally, he's picking off a Marauder, he's picking off a couple of Marines, but even just shelling this bio and draining those medevacs of damage will help when the inevitable push, when the push inevitably reaches the 3rd base. I mean, stims like this as well. And these are the kind of things that you need here as herO to try and slow the roll of the Terran, because the firepower here for ByuN, it's high. herO, are you going to commit here on the low ground? Charge about 75% towards completion. Armor shredding missile right there on the Zealots.
I mean,
but the siege tanks are pretty far back, and that Colossus is also protected by the shield battery. So
I don't think that there's actually enough here for ByuN. I feel like herO's got quite a lot. I think he's going to try to push regardless. I think the tanks are, yeah, like you were saying this earlier, State, they're like a little bit too far away.
I think
so
ByuN has to retreat.
This is the sign of a good player. He gets that far and he goes, this isn't going to work. I'm in too deep. I'm in over my head. I got to just head back home. Now, this is going to allow for a counter follow-up here from herO. He's going to try to pursue this. The Widow Mine is planted to kind of sandbag progress. But, you know, there's a real opportunity for Protoss to just hit where this command center is making. If he can force a cancel, that would be huge.
Oh, he wants to get that. He wants to get the Warp Prism so bad. herO using the terrain to prevent any hull damage there. I would be surprised if herO didn't do another Warp and commit to an attack, because that was a lot of damage. You know, hit points damage on this bio that only just now is getting healed up by these medevacs. These medevacs, you can see them very low on energy except for the couple that just popped. And herO's the kind of player that usually tries to find at least a little bit of value with his army in a situation like this one, but he's playing kind of conservatively. He is postured in front of where the Terran army is. He's sending these little feelers out, these zealots, both to the 12 o'clock position and then, as we saw, to the front to see if there is an opening, but kind of just like how ByuN poked and pried on herO's side of the map and then retreated. herO's going to think better of it. He's like, you know what? This is an entrenched Terran position. He still has all the siege tanks except only the one that I picked off at the natural expansion. Let's go back home, take a 4th base, let's reset, let's get another level of splash damage in the disruptors and play a more macro game. And this is really exciting because, you know, the games have been really fun so far today, but I feel like we haven't really gotten to see any of these guys play really a proper macro game. The closest thing we got to it was, I think, like, what, an 8-racks push from Cure? So, or from ByuN, excuse me. So this is gonna be really fun. I'm excited to see where this one's gonna go.
So it seems like ByuN's going to try to move out on the map again. Does snipe that observer. They're both mobile right now, although one tank sieges, so it seems like ByuN suspects there's something close here. I don't know if any of these zealots are going to get hit. Yeah, somehow they glide right by. Now there's Marauders and Marines over here, and so he's going to have to turn around. herO can't actually stay there for much longer. He's going to try to set up for another opportunity for maybe a drop and even a warp in here into the main. The Vikings are going to come up, and I mean, right now ByuN is just swatting down everything that herO is throwing at him. Recall here doesn't actually even save that many of the zealots. I think only 3. And we're kind of waiting to see, like, can ByuN actually push anywhere? I think herO did a great job buying time and delaying him and forcing him to go back and defend and to protect his own base before pushing out.
All right, we're at a line of sight blocker. ByuN, I don't know if he knows how many disruptors we have on the field right now. Okay, he scans, he does see it. He's gonna micro back. That's a pretty good connection though. Hit, what, 2 Marauders, a handful of Marines? Also force an armor shredding missile out of that Raven. By the way, I love herO's vision on the map right now. Look at all these pylons and zealots just scattered everywhere. It's like he has observer coverage on half the map without any of the robo time. It's just beautiful. ByuN now navigating all the way down to the 6 o'clock position. herO's trying to expand. Link forward there by herO, trying to snipe some of these key starport units. Siege tanks, again, pretty far back. There are 4 disruptors. Armor shredding missile pops once more. Vikings, I think they got 1 Colossus. They're diving, trying to get the second one. Stalkers are focusing them down. The disruptors are zoning away the Terran army. While herO focuses down those Vikings, 1 Colossus will stay alive. And now, herO, are you going to go for the engagement? It's really tough in this kind of choke position with the Nexus and also the terrain there on the top side.
The Nexus was so low, it just goes down. ByuN is looking very strong. Another Nexus is going to finish as the other one's destroyed. It seems like herO wasn't quite able to get in there and do the damage he needed to do. He's going to try to counterattack up here, and ByuN is running in parallel with him, trying to come up here and maybe meet him to defend. Over here in this base, the Zealots are pulled back. More Stalkers warped in. Disruptors and Colossus finally get over here. Guardian Shield triggered. Some big connects here with these Guardian Shields.
Yeah, this Marauder's basically on 1 HP. Man, I loved herO just trying to race ByuN across the map all the way to this 3rd base. He's like, you know what, I'm a little bit more mobile than you. I'm going to make this move. Okay, I don't think that we have any more Disruptor shots right now in the barrel, so going to be a pure Gateway Army charging in. There's so many Zealots, and ByuN is actually so Marauder heavy that they're doing a great job of dishing out damage and tanking it. These Stalkers now going to blink back.
My God.
At the end of the day, I mean, the dust is going to settle. ByuN's ahead in army supply, but that was a huge Disruptor shot to swing it back in herO's favor. And honestly, even before that Disruptor shot connected, I felt that was a great trade for herO. He traded mostly Zealots for a ton of bio, and he reset a lot of the starport units. Basically, every single Viking went down. That's why we're going back into double Colossus production. Soon with +3 ground weapons here for Protoss, and already 6 Disruptors on the field. That was a big momentum swinging fight for herO. It wasn't a game winner, But man, I mean, the ball is in his court right now. Like, he can do basically whatever he wants. It's up to ByuN really to try and defend with really kind of weak upgrades. He has 1-1, 2-2, about 60% complete. herO, he double expanded. He did lose that 4th base, but he has 2 more as compensation online now.
You know, it just seems like ByuN has not been able to really get on the map and do anything after that initial attack. I mean, we saw the Nexus fall, but at this point in time, herO's double expanded. He's going to reload with a lot of Zealots to come in here. If he can come in and maybe even deny this 4th base or push away the 3rd, that would be massive. Colossi coming out in pairs here, as well as Disruptors. He's got 6 in the map right now. I think he should be taking, the easy path around here towards where that sensor tower and command center are. Ground weapons level 3 finishing as this fight happens.
All right, War Prism gets taken out immediately. Blink forward again. A really nice concave right there. Oh, these disruptor shots be huge. Tasteless! Oh, so much bio going down. herO just absolutely using a sledgehammer to break down this position.
I mean, that was insane.
Oh my goodness, the planetary though got so much damage done on those clumped up stalkers.
He almost got the job done. Yeah, the planetary.
The Terran disruptor.
I almost didn't even notice, by the way, that was a planetary. Yeah. I kind of was watching the fight. I'm like, wait, what is killing this?
The Terran disruptor, that thing just completely shelled those stalkers. But still, at the end of the day, I mean, the bio count almost completely reset here for ByuN. He had 8 Marauders and 10 Marines the last time we had a look right there at the units tab. And the starport units, again, were effectively reset. And so ByuN, he has to choose, like, do you remake medevacs? I think he actually has more than I expected. He has 4 or 5 medevacs right here. So it's really just the Viking count that is low. But herO this entire time has been cranking out Colossi 2 at a time. He's got 4 on the field. I don't know if we have any more in production, but it's going to take a while for those Vikings to actually clean them up. I love him just, he's taxing ByuN right now. He's like, if you don't look at your army, if you don't micro and pay attention all the time, these disruptors are eventually going to get big hits off. There's only 1 ghost.
I think we're going to be at the point where herO's just going to be able to smother him here. This is so much coming through. Even the planetary can't handle all of this. The stalker's blinking in here. Dude. Keep in mind, herO has like the entirety of the map as well.
Dude.
That army's wiped. This base is going to be gone.
Those Colossi.
I think it's going to be a victory here for yeah, there it is. GG. herO taking game 1. I got to say, ByuN put up a good fight. He was able to get in there and get his swipes. But at the end of the day, herO just grew into the map as if he was like a Zerg.
Yeah.
He just had so much. Even when some of the exchanges weren't that great, it doesn't matter because ByuN never really gets to do anything on herO's side of the map. Eventually, herO is doubling the amount of expansions that ByuN has, and he just throws everything he has in there. Beautifully done. Right now, herO up with a 1-0 lead.
That was so sick. I love that from herO so much. ByuN got this one big punch in. It was a haymaker that took down the expansion of herO. And a lot of Protoss players, I feel like, would falter and maybe even get a little bit too defensive in a situation like that one. What does herO do? He double expanded. He's like, I'm going to lose this Nexus, but you're not going to be able to take down these ones on the ulterior bases. Like, your army is not mobile enough. And I'm also going to abuse that mobility by literally racing your siege tanks back to your 3rd base. And, excuse me, seating myself in a position where I can disrupt mining, I can kill your SCVs, I can force an engagement that's going to go a lot better for me than it would if I was playing defensively back at home. And herO effectively just trading Zealots for these critical Terran units and then making some really smart choices with its tech. Like ByuN losing all the Vikings and herO cracking out Colossi 2 at a time, culminating in a awesome timing push to the 4th base. herO looking on fire. He is 1 map win away from going to the round of 4. Will he defeat ByuN or will we go to a map number 3?
Okay. ByuN in the top right, herO in the bottom left. herO really showing an extremely powerful late game there. You know, it seems like a lot of times Terran have the ability to push and to kind of put pressure on you, but as long as the Protoss can kind of sustain that, really not that different from, we see in a Zerg player playing against a Terran. You're kind of just trying to bob and weave and block and deflect attacks. And eventually you get to this point where you're so big, it's pretty hard for them to wrestle you down. And that's what, you know, herO was able to do versus ByuN. herO had to sacrifice one base. Some of the pushes looked pretty scary, but eventually, like, you get so many Nexuses as herO. You're just taking huge amounts of army, throwing it into them and trading it out, but while having superior number of bases, you can then remake and just do that like 3 or 4 times. And there's not a whole lot they can do.
Yeah, that was an awesome PBT from herO. And that's the first real macro PBT that we have seen from him so far today. So we didn't get a glimpse of him last week either. Yeah, you know, like, he seeded directly into the round of 8. And if this is the shape that herO is in, I feel like basically any Terran player is going to be hard-pressed to beat him in this GSL. I mean, that was just... That's herO in, like, world-class championship form.
Yeah, I mean, he's in great shape. You know, ByuN, he might want to try to figure out how to be more active or more engaged earlier on. You know, when we saw you know, what Cure was trying, Cure actually had some pretty interesting ideas that really did circumvent any opportunities Protoss can have in the late game. You know, late game doesn't matter if they never get there, right? So if you're able to just slow them down or do damage, and especially what we saw from Cure in game 1 versus herO, I think was maybe the most impressive when he had, you know, Banshees hitting different mineral patches while pushing. He had Cyclones coming out. I mean, he was sort of everywhere, had Medivacs moving around, and like, it was just enough to where herO couldn't grow. He was losing too much, taking too many bad fights. Maybe we need to see something like that here from ByuN, because ByuN had the last game probably more of like a straightforward. I guess he did go for Widowmine drops, right? But I mean, you know, maybe he needs to be a little bit more creative with how he can try to get into the Protoss's face.
Yeah, I do wonder. You know, I go back to that. I think back to the engineering bay block in the Fast Factory, and I do wonder if he was just anticipating herO taking a third, or planting his second expansion at the third base location.
Yeah.
And having that as a target, and then the fact that herO brought, I think it was 5 probes to take down that SCV and clean up the engineering bay and just really not let that even happen. Might have taken a little bit of the wind out of the sails there for ByuN. And like you said, he fell back to something that was a little bit more macro. He went for Widowmine drop, which herO handled probably the best that we've seen any Widowmine drop get handled in a long time, partly because his blink was just so perfectly timed. By the way, gonna get a Marine here. Gonna get
you gotta
2
be
Marines
careful,
here.
Man. I mean, the Stalkers are better units than the Marines early on.
Yeah.
Now he's gonna go for these Hellions, but they can get the Hellion too here if the targeting isn't good.
Oh, there's a third Stalker.
Hold on a second. He does take out one of those. Dude. I hate that there's like a glitch where they just disappear.
I saw people talking about this before. This is, I think, a map glitch. This is not the reduced violence or anything setting. This is something that I think might be a glitch that's exclusive to this map or a couple maps, where sometimes when a unit dies, I think especially the Protoss units, they'll die without an animation. That is not a setting that we can control. That is just something that, there's no fix. So I know it sucks. I felt like I was losing my mind a little bit last week, because units would die and I would try to play-by-play it and it would just disappear. And I'm like, did I blink and like what? I missed what happened.
Yeah,
but
you'd be ready to tee up like a medevac getting shot down and it just disappears. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, hopefully that gets resolved soon. I'm sorry. I know it's very distracting. It's also very distracting for us, but there isn't really anything we can do about it to the best of my knowledge.
So he sent the Observer and he saw what he's got. I wouldn't be shocked if we have a little bit more aggression here from herO, but he is getting double gas, so maybe he's actually going to stay back here and tech a little bit longer. But, you know, that initial Stalker pressure was pretty good. You know, he shaved down a lot of those units. When Terran gets even a small amount of units, like enough to fit in the medevac, you know, Cyclones or Widowmines and Marines and stuff like that, it can be pretty annoying to deal with.
Yeah. I love the Stalker warping on this little Reaper pad.
Yeah. So he's going to try to send these Stalkers in here. Until the Terran has about 3 tanks, it's hard to cover everything. He has 1 in his main. But he can kill the SCV that's making that command center. That's actually a pretty big deal. And then just target any SCVs he wants. These 4 Stalkers can one-shot a worker here. So 5 SCVs are already taken out. herO just very much in control of this game.
Yeah, herO's playing a really nice game. I've got to say, the early games we've been seeing from herO have been very refreshing, both against Cure and against ByuN.
Yeah.
He's doing some kind of... I'm almost nostalgic for these builds. It reminds me of stuff that Parting would try to do early on, and like I mean, early on. Heart of the Swarm and Wings of Liberty, where you have your first couple of units and just try to get some value. But I felt like PBT, over the course of time, kind of shifted away from that, where it was more like Protoss would almost beeline towards the Twilight Council and Blink, and that would really be, you know, the jumping board from which you would start your aggression as Protoss. But herO in a lot of these early games, both against Kira and against ByuN, just finding these really niche scenarios where he's able to kill a depot with like an Adept and a Stalker, or take down a couple of Marines. And it might not seem like that much, but momentum in TVP, especially with the early game pushes, a lot of it comes down to, you know, if Terran's basically able to play perfectly and not lose any of those units, because the Terran army, once it reaches that critical mass, the very first critical mass with, you know, starport units and siege tanks and stim pack, and that critical first timing when you're pushing down like a third base or you're hitting at the natural expansion really quickly, that's often where Protoss players die. So for herO in these early games to get these little tiny edges that not only, you know, kill some Marines or kill some SCVs, but also give him very meaningful scouting information, like in this game, spotting the fast third command center, and the games against Kira, identifying that, you know what, you're going to let this depot go down because you're going for some kind of weird play with a Cyclone drop early on into Banshees. It's just very cool. herO is coming into this GSL with a very well-rounded PBT playstyle. And some of these games, they have been a little bit hectic because of the curveballs that his opponents are throwing at him. But overall, herO is looking just so rock solid at PBT that I'm really excited to see where he's going to go in this season.
In this game, ByuN is going to be winding up for an attack in a little bit here. He's got his third base set up, but he's not saturated it with workers just yet. Protoss is getting the fourth. It's been a little bit of a quiet game for the time being. We've got the combat shields upgrade about to finish. Both sides are teching into all the necessary things they need to be viable in a longer game. We finally have Stalker Blink being upgraded. It's kind of crazy how much he delayed that. But, you know, if you can expand a little bit quicker and get some of these upgrades later in the game, like just basically not have to rely on them earlier, you are going to be in a better position economically.
Right. I mean, the trade-off here for herO is that, yeah, he didn't have Blink, so dealing with things like this Raven's a little bit more annoying.
Oh my God.
Yeah, those auto turrets slap. But by the by, you look at the units tab. He's got 2 Colossi, 2 Immortal at this stage in the game. 3rd Colossus is underway. He has 2 Forge pumping. He's about to have +2 ground weapons and +1 armor? Yeah, on the way. And so for herO, you know, what he traded off with, you know, losing some mid-game pressure and instead just opting for the Warp Prism and 4 Stalkers, he's gaining back in terms of his army composition. This is going to be probably the most powerful army comp that we've seen in the mid-game here for herO in most of his PETs thus far today. And really, he's getting there basically unimpeded. He's taken a little bit of damage from this Raven, but it's nothing that a couple of credit boosts on these Nexus can't fix. You know, his economies are already very healthy here, taking his 4th base. And now you can see it, it's paying off. 5 gateways in production, he's fleshing out his tech. I think Warp Prism speed was being researched. He's adding in disruptors, he's adding in a 2nd robotics facility. And so we're about to get into, you know, the 10-minute mark where herO is going to be on 4 bases with basically almost a fully fleshed out tech tree. You know, like there isn't Storm on the table. That's basically the only thing we do not have on the table here for herO.
Right. Another command center coming down here. A lot more caution aired over here for both of these guys. You can see the Warp Prism is basically parked in the bottom right. He's waiting for like some kind of movement from the Terran to set up for a counterattack, some kind of big warp in maybe into the main. Both sides are at about 160 plus supply. So, you know, we're not far away from sides maxing out. So Terran may start to push. Keep in mind, if Protoss doesn't at least leave like 10 supply vacant, there's no way to fly into their main and then just like warp in a bunch of stuff. And that first major push is coming down here. It's headed southbound. It looks like the 2 armies are going to meet each other. This isn't everything Terran has, by the way. No tanks with this or anything else. He's got enough Vikings. He can try to target these Colossi. Here comes that counterattack we were talking about now. Gonna warp in a couple more units here in the process.
herO's actually supply block, so can only warp in one cell.
Yeah. I was just talking about that.
God.
It actually happened.
All right. Pushing out, coming here. It's the 3rd base up yet. Oh, that Disruptor couldn't connect. Didn't have the range to get with those siege tanks, so a little bit unlucky.
I love the hallucinated Colossus, by the way.
Oh, I totally missed that. I was zeroed in on that Disruptor. Yeah, herO's been using a lot of hallucination so far today. I think in the previous map, he hallucinated like Stalkers for some reason.
I don't see why not. I mean, especially with the Colossus, where like, okay, you know these Vikings are going to target something, but if this allows you to get like 4 or 5 more Colossus shots off, that might be all you need to win the game.
Yeah, even absorbing just one volley, you know, all those Colossi going down one volley later, it matters over the course of an entire fight, right? Like every Colossus is basically getting in a couple more shots before they go down. And now we have Protoss effectively maxed. Oh, Disruptor shot. Okay, ByuN is going to be able to react in time. That one Colossus basically down to the hulls. The game is still pretty quiet. You can see herO still just kind of building up. He's getting +3 ground weapons, I believe +2 armor. Yeah, +2 armor right there.
I do think, and we got to see exactly how the game pans out, but it just does kind of seem to me like this could be another game where herO gets in the same position as before. It's Terran on 4 bases just now, where Protoss has way more to work with. Great usage of the Stalkers here to try to hit these Vikings. Don't want to overextend, of course.
Like that one Disruptor did.
Yeah.
Just getting rallied in. I feel like ByuN's playing a very good game so far, holding on, but he's got to be careful because he is spread a little bit thin. There isn't that much bio here to deal with this army. It's so many Disruptors, so many Colossi. Viking getting a really good arc, kind of using that tower to try and stay away from the Stalkers, but at the end, Stalkers are able to focus fire most of them down. And this planetary is not done. So I feel like this base is basically dead to rights.
This is cooked, man. This is just going to go down. I mean, there's nothing stands a chance of the damage output here. I love how he just moves the Colossi back so that the Stalkers can try to hit some of these Vikings. Eventually, he manages to take out nearly all the Vikings, and I think round 2 he could push right in here. Do not overextend. Yeah, the planetary could just end up melting all that. But another warping round. I mean, am I wrong about this? It seems like herO is just going to charge through here and run this over.
I mean, it was only like half of ByuN's army, right? We saw that massive reinforcement of Bio come in quite late, and so herO was basically able to section off half of ByuN's forces because they were just isolated by this incomplete planetary fortress and take a really favorable trade. And now that means there's like a 40 supply differential basically between ByuN and herO.
Oh my god. Now with the Zealots coming in here, that should be too much. The Disruptor shot comes out, forcing those Marauders to go back. The command center goes down. I think this might be the twilight of this game. ByuN is in so much pain right now. I mean, everything is getting wiped out over here. It's going to be him back onto 3 bases with herO having nearly half of the map.
I mean, ByuN just collapsed under the pressure there. A lot of it for me goes back to him just having half the army there on the top side. And at the end, herO could win it 2-0. Dude, herO looks so good.
He might win this season, actually. He looks extremely strong. Well, we're going to have an interview with herO in a second here. See how he is feeling. He is the first player to move on into the round of 4.
Yeah, and he did it in very convincing PBT fashion. 2-1 win over Cure, 2-0 win over ByuN. Cure with a little bit more of a crazy approach in his early games, was trying to throw a lot of wrenches in the machine of herO, made herO fight for it. And I feel like herO versus ByuN, you know, these games, they generally just trended towards these macro situations, and for whatever reason, herO just seems to have a better read on this matchup when it comes to the macro because he was not missing any beats. His army movement was just completely on point. Even in that final map where it seemed like things were very even and ByuN was playing a nice conservative game, herO was able to basically isolate one army and take him out. Let's hear what he has to say. Well, herO, congratulations. You were able to make it directly into the second group stage, and now you are the first player here into the semifinals. How are you feeling? Well, since I had a lot of Terran opponents, I was quite worried. And I'm actually very pleased with my result, being able to beat 2 Terrans. And yeah, I feel like I exceeded my expectations coming into this matchup.
오늘 투테란 잡았겠다. 그런 자신감 여전히 유지되나요?
Well, a lot of people these days in the GSL are saying that you are so strong, they feel like they cannot beat you. They feel like they're suffocating when they play against you. What do you think about that? And herO says, well, I think they're basically just whining. But, you know, since I'm actually showing some pretty good performances these days, maybe there's more truth to it than I initially thought, and I'm actually looking to win a GSL title. Well, in the very first match against Kira, you actually dropped that map. But you were able to swing it back in the following games of that series. Here says, yeah, well, the first game was tough, and Kira had some difficult strategies, but at the last minute I was able to kind of fix some things in my approach and come through with a win. Well, you know, it actually seemed pretty easy for you, herO, to make your way all the way into the semifinals. And here's saying, yeah, well, you know, Rogue's showing really strong performances. So coming into this group, I believe he's saying he was waiting for, a little bit worried about Ro coming into this group, but he only had to play against Kira and ByuN, so things actually worked out in his favor. Sorry, it was a little bit hard picking that one up there. Well, you know, in the other group, we have a lot of strong players, classic GumiHo, Rainer, and Mario. Are you prepared to face Mario in the round of 4? That is a potential matchup for you. And he says, you know, I feel like I can take on any of the Terrans, but personally, herO would actually like to play GumiHo in the semifinals. And ask him for a nice shout out to his fans, and he says, yeah, I'm really grateful for all the fans that have come to the studio to cheer for us in person. It means a lot to me. You know, it was a long time between GSL seasons, and so I want to have a good performance here. I'm happy to show a good performance for my fans, yada, yada, yada.
Bada bing, bada boom. Dude, he looks really good.
That was really
herO
incredible.
Looks really strong. I like the way that he approaches it, kind of just staying back, making it really impossible for the Terran to do anything in that late game. I think if Terrans are going to be able to grapple with him and take him down, they basically have to get they have to stop him before he starts, right? They got to figure out a way to get in his face and slow him down. That style looks really strong.
It seemed like it was basically Kira's MO in that series. He was going for some really quirky builds. That's why he was able to win game number 1 with the delayed
he was
Banshees.
very interested in like killing a lot of workers early on and forcing the Stalkers back and basically keeping the Protoss off his back. But yeah, herO's going to be one of the 4 players here in the Final 4. So we've got 3 players left here in Group A. One's about to be eliminated. At the end of the day, we're going to have one more pass on. We will be right back.